Hello, welcome to your Monday history class, ladies and gentlemen. It is so marvelous to be here with you on this Holy Week. This is the first day of a challenge week that you have all given me with your suggestions and your assignments. So your assignment today was to find a different thing for me to do during these videos this week. So, if you could not already tell because the accent is so terrible, I am going to be doing all of my videos today in what I believe to be a pretty passable German accent of Deutsche, yeah? For those of you who are watching who have some German in you, I deeply apologize. However, this will be a little bit of fun, won't it? Where do we go from here? We are almost done with chapter 26. We're almost done with the New Deal and Great Depression, yeah? So what we need to do is we need to finish up talking about what happened with the end of the New Deal, also sometimes called the Second New Deal. So here's what this week we'll be looking at. We have today's video, which will have a little bit of an assignment for you at the end, so make sure you watch all the way to the end. On Tuesday and Wednesday, we will have some videos to answer all of your questions, and we will go a little bit of an overview. And then on Thursday, we will have an assignment that shall act as a bit of quiz/test for your chapter. Okay, so let's talk about what happened after 1935, okay? So Roosevelt was a very popular guy, yeah? Nine, he was not a very popular guy. Instead, Roosevelt actually had a lot of challenges during his presidency. There were several people that you can read in lesson 4 of chapter 26, such as Father Coughlin, who was a labor organizer. But probably the greatest challenge to President Roosevelt's presidency was someone down in Louisiana, who was known as Governor Huey Long. Okay, Governor Huey Long. That's how you say it in German accent. So when you're talking about Huey Long, he was a poor man who grew up in the slums of Louisiana, out in the bayou, and he worked his way all the way to being elected governor. And Huey Long was very much a radical when it came to the people and how we were going to fight for the protection of people. Huey Long was actually very closer in line with socialism and also communism. He would basically wanted the Louisiana government to be in control of everything, okay? And so he would do that by having the government take everything over in Louisiana and take care of all the social programs. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, the other problem was that Huey Long was also very corrupt. And this will probably upset some of my friends who are from Louisiana because he's held in high regard down in Louisiana. But Huey Long basically would take as many bribes as possible when it came to who would get the best government contracts. He would also give jobs only to his friends. And then it was time for him to make decisions. He did not always make the decision in the best interest of the people, but the one that was going to continue to increase his power and also increase the amount in his pocketbook. Okay? So when it came to Huey Long, he actually became a possible contender to try to challenge Roosevelt for the presidency in 1936. FDR actually had several different messages between some of his advisors who said that Huey Long basically wanted to create a fascist America, that he would be in charge like Adolf Hitler over in Germany. The reason that you don't really know much about Huey Long is because in 1935, right when he was getting ready to challenge Roosevelt for the nomination for the Democratic Party, he was assassinated. He was assassinated in 1935 in the steps on the courts, in the State House in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I've actually been to the spot where you still see the bullet holes in the floor and in the wall where Huey Long was assassinated. So that was Huey Long. So the one takeaway we can take from Huey Long is that Huey was a good example that Roosevelt was not universally popular. But one thing that made Roosevelt very popular was an act that he passed in 1936, which has been one of the most sustaining pieces of legislation outside of pretty much any law in the United States, and that's, of course, the Social Security Act. Social Security Act took taxes from mostly wages and paychecks and gave it to the needy, and particularly the elderly. Those aren't the only people who get Social Security checks, but for the most part, this was designed to make sure that the elderly portion of the United States would not be in poverty. Okay. Roosevelt, during the later half of his first term in office, was attempting to basically make sure that his ideas could not be overturned. Okay? There is sometimes a fear when you are a president that no matter what you do, the next guy will just change it, right? Happens sometimes, doesn't it? So here, Roosevelt proposed adding several new members to the Supreme Court. Now remember from your Constitution test last year that the president is the one who appoints the Supreme Court justices. And so, Roosevelt's plan was to add even more Supreme Court justices to the Supreme Court, and that would basically be a bunch of loyal judges who would uphold any of the New Deal programs in case he leaves office. This was seen as unconstitutional. This was seen as a gigantic power grab. And Roosevelt backs down from this. But it's a lesson at showing that even though Roosevelt gets the reputation as being a very popular president, there was resistance to the New Deal and there was resistance to him as a president. With all this being in mind, you would think that the election of 1936 would have been a very closely contested election. It wasn't. Roosevelt wins relatively easily. And this was a marker of how popular the New Deal was with the common people. They saw the federal government starting to take more of a welfare role in their lives. What that means is that the United States would no longer be a government where they kind of sit on their hands and don't do anything when there's a crisis. They would be more directly involved in the lives of everyday citizens. So, with this, you would think the New Deal is going to lead the United States into economic prosperity and into happiness and sunshine and rainbows, and everybody is la-di-la-di-la-di down into the fjords. Not so much. What happens is that Roosevelt has an unforeseen complication. In 1938, the economy goes into another economic downturn. This is one of those reasons why we don't see the New Deal as the end of the Great Depression. Gesundheit zu mir. We don't see the New Deal as the end of the Great Depression because the New Deal was not sufficient enough to end the Great Depression. The economic downturn in 1938 was a sign that this problem was not going away. However, as 1938 rolls in, events start happening over in Europe and Asia that force the United States to stop looking at itself just domestically and start focusing on foreign affairs. And that is where we will pick up after we're done with our short quiz on the New Deal, talking about World War II. Okay. I hope all of you are having a wonderful Monday. Comment below if you've able to understand me at all, or if you have any questions about this. If you'd like me to go in our questions and answers video, if you'd like me to go into more depth on Huey Long or the election of 1936 or Social Security, any questions that you might have on that. I hope you all have a wonderful Holy Week, and I will see you tomorrow with a new challenge and perhaps a wardrobe change. Have a good day.